Our guest today is the president of the 32,000 member Chicago Teachers Union. She began her teaching career at the Illinois School for the Deaf in Jacksonville, Illinois. Our guest today spent the next 29 years in the Chicago public school system, teaching special education students at Skinner, Spalding, and Kinsey elementary schools. She earned her Bachelor's of Science in Special Education from Illinois State University and a Master of Arts in School Counseling from Governor State University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the City Club of Chicago, the president of the Chicago Teachers Union, Marilyn Stewart. Marilyn?
We educate the next generation of students for a better Chicago. After all, isn't the future of Chicago, doesn't the future of Chicago start in its classrooms? The City Club of Chicago serves as a venue for nonpartisan debates on public issues that pertain to the Chicago metropolitan area. The CTU represents nearly 32,000 active and retired teachers, educators, and paraprofessionals from around the Chicago metropolitan area also, who plays a major role in shaping the very leaders that you have on your forum. You have hosted many Chicago Public School alumni, and the alumni were educated from our union. How many of you attended Chicago Public Schools? Okay. Now, how many of you know leaders who attended CPS or relatives who taught in Chicago Public Schools? That's even more. All right. More members. Quite a few as I could have imagined. So in essence, our goals and our missions are quite similar. We all want a better Chicago for all of us. And it is for that reason it gives me quite a pleasure, and I'm very honored to have the opportunity to talk to the business leaders in Chicago. You have every reason to care about the success of our students. Just like teachers, you want Chicago Public Schools to graduate smart, motivated, well-educated students who are prepared for college or the world of work. For that to happen, we have to have the very best prepared teachers and give them the tools and resources necessary to do their jobs well. As a union leader, I've learned that we solve problems better when we have a sense of urgency. I think that most people have a sense of urgency to boost student achievement and to improve teacher quality. I hope, and I think and I hope that each of you shares my belief that we should work together, and we need to work now. It takes a major commitment from various stakeholders to make sure that this happens. This is a shared responsibility by everyone who wants to improve our schools and want them to succeed. I'm talking about an absolute necessity engaging everyone: teachers, school parents, school staff, administrators, elected officials, business leaders, and the community, and of course, students themselves. I must say that these days I'm seeing a lot of encouraging signs that are in progress. There are great programs that have been created collaboratively between the Chicago Teachers Union, the district, universities, businesses, community leaders, and others. And we know from experience that collaboration works, and that's great news for Chicago. Yes, there are still some dark clouds out there that threaten the success, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. But first, the good news. What is this squeaking? It's like, am I going to fall? Okay, I'm going to hold on just in case. Okay, there's been an unprecedented commitment, financially and otherwise, by the Obama administration to raise the level of teaching and learning. Thus far, the administration has committed $260 million in federal stimulus money for Chicago. That is about as clear as they can be that the administration views education as a key component to improving the economy. That money is a lifeline to states like Illinois and cities like Chicago that would otherwise be forced to have to cut even greater into their budget and be more devastating to schools and children as the current CPS threats threaten to be. Further, the administration has allocated $4.35 billion for Race to the Top grants to fund innovative education reforms. Of course, it is estimated that Illinois will receive $235 million, and Chicago will get nearly $130 million of that. Now, we may not agree with a lot of the strings attached to the funds, but I am optimistic that we can work together, work out our differences with the Obama administration. But my point is that this is an unbelievable amount of money that if used well, we can create reforms that will be revolutionary in this city. Moreover, there is a lot going on in Chicago to raise the level of teacher quality, something that Chicago Teachers Union has been a priority with us. We want every teacher to be a great teacher. Many years ago, the late Albert Shanker, the former president of our national parent organization, the American Federation of Teachers, was a highly respected education reformer as much as he was a highly respected union leader. He delivered this challenge to teachers' unions across the country. Al told his unions that quality public education has to be part of the mission of teacher unions. It is as much our duty to preserve public education as it is to negotiate a good contract, is the way he put it. Well, I certainly feel that it is the duty of the Chicago Teachers Union to help build and preserve a quality public education system here in the city of Chicago. And I believe it is my duty as a 29-year veteran of this system and the CTU to help ensure that every child has a great teacher. Teacher unions today are about more than wages, benefits, and working conditions. We're also about working with partners to put in place the best possible programs to improve teaching and learning. Our collective challenge is to give teachers the help, support, and assistance and tools and resources they need to do a great job. But more important, we need to help those teachers that we hire stay working in Chicago. Right now, the typical Chicago public school loses half of its teachers within 5 years. Now that's an incredibly unstabilizing situation for our students. It is not good for learning. To put it this way, as a business person, you know how expensive it is to hire and train employees. Well, the price tag in Chicago for replacing a teacher is $90 million a year in the city of Chicago. So what we're doing everything possible to make sure that the teachers get the help they need right off the bat, the moment they step into the classroom and during the course of their career. Let me give you a few examples of what we're doing. The vast majority of our teachers are performing well under often extraordinary conditions and challenging circumstances. But we know that a brand new teacher fresh out of school needs help. Just as new pilots don't fly solo right away, we shouldn't be asking the first-time teacher to figure out their complex craft all by themselves. So in the fall of 2006, we worked collaboratively with the Chicago Teachers Union to introduce the peer evaluation and review program to 10 underperforming Fresh Start schools. Now, we named those schools Fresh Start. We named those schools Fresh Start. Those schools in need of improvement Fresh Start, because that's what we wanted to give them, a fresh start. Now, experienced, trained master teachers work as mentors for the new teachers and those who are struggling in the profession. The mentors observe, model, provide support, and evaluate. And naturally, we hope that the struggling teachers get the approval to stay. But if, after getting the best help possible, they do not meet the standards, they are no longer retained as CPS teachers. Up to now, our mentors have worked with about 300 teachers. Of that group, about 10% have been released from the profession. It was agreed that they did not meet the to be a high-quality CPS teacher. Of the 15 tenured teachers who received support, one was successfully helped to the point where she became a much better teacher. 6 are currently in remediation, 4 are appealing the principal's unsatisfactory rating, and 4 have resigned or left the system for one reason or another. The Chicago Peer Mentoring and Evaluation Program was modeled after the award-winning Toledo Plan that was created 25 years ago by Dal Lawrence, the former president of the Toledo Federation of Teachers in Toledo, Ohio. This program was so successful there that the Toledo school principals wanted this type of program and evaluation system for themselves. So today, I'm calling for the expansion of this program in Chicago. If it's working well in 10 of our schools, it could and should work well in more of our schools. And I'm urging the Board of Education, and Barbara can get the message to Ron Huberman, that we want to work collaboratively to expanding this peer evaluation program to at least 40 more schools by the beginning of next school year. Now, here are some other programs that are helping to raise the teacher quality in Chicago. Now, our Chicago Teachers Union's own Quest Center, an entire department dedicated to teacher quality in Chicago, is in a class by itself. I'm very proud of that group and the work with that staff back there, Dr. Connie. It was created, the Quest Center was created by a $1.2 million grant from the MacArthur Foundation 17 years ago. It was the first grant ever given by a foundation to a labor union. The MacArthur Foundation continues to support our union's educational reform efforts. We're pleased to announce that the MacArthur Foundation has pledged $600,000 over the next 3 years for professional development programs that create and support high-quality teachers in Chicago public schools. Thank you. Now, what else makes for high-quality teachers? The gold standard for doctors is board certification. The same with teachers. Teachers are at the top of their profession in the United States if they have achieved certification by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. A study from the University of Chicago Consortium, the Chicago Board on the Chicago School Research, affirms that teacher quality is the single most important factor that drives student achievement. So those who pass the rigorous national board examinations exemplify the highest level of teacher quality in Chicago public schools. Further, further research found that students taught by national board certified teachers make higher gains on achievement tests than those taught by other teachers. In fact, their students score between 7 and 15 percentage points higher on year-end exams. The Chicago Teachers Union brought national board certification to Chicago 12 years ago by introducing its Nurturing Teacher Leadership Program, NTL. Our candidate support program boasts a 93% achievement rate, more than twice the national average. NTL provides weekly professional development and mentoring support over an 11-month period for teachers seeking national board certification. Thanks to the support thanks to resources and support from the Chicago Public Schools, the Chicago Public Education Fund with Janet Knupp, thank you, the MacArthur Foundation and other philanthropic organizations, and the backing of Mayor Daley, we now have nearly 1,200 national board certified teachers in Chicago. However, as you can see, teacher training is a lot of money. We're glad that our new CEO, Ron Huberman, understands and appreciates the union's success in improving teacher quality. He has pledged additional monies to our Nurturing Teacher Leadership Program for the National Board Certification this coming year. And Barbara, I want you to tell Ron, thank you. Meanwhile, the other good news in Chicago Public Schools concerns our 10 Fresh Start schools I previously mentioned. They're using research-based programs to raise student achievement, and the 8 elementary Fresh Start schools are showing significant improvement. The 2 high schools have unique challenges, and we're working with them, and we want them to succeed as well. So we're seeing a lot of progress and movement into raise student achievement and teacher quality in Chicago. But a few minutes ago, I talked about the storm cloud. Get out your umbrella. There's a 2-ton elephant in the room that could impede the success of our students and teachers. That elephant is chronic disruption and discipline problems in the classroom. All the professional development, mentoring, and gold standard certified teachers I've been discussing will be for naught if the teachers don't get the support they need to deal with this ongoing problem. Teachers can't teach and students can't learn in a constantly disruptive classroom. Would a judge allow anyone in his or her classroom to be disruptive? Would a store owner allow someone to be disruptive in their store? Would a police officer allow someone to weave in and out of traffic, endangering the lives of others? Or as a business person, would you tolerate disruptive behavior that kept you from doing your job? Of course not. Then why do you think a teacher should be forced to have students remain in the classroom if they they're constantly disobeying the rules and making teaching and learning nearly impossible? How bad is the problem? Well, judging from what our teachers and other support staff throughout Chicago are telling us, there is no doubt that the problem exists in the vast majority of our 600-plus schools. Now, I want to make the difference between chronically disruptive students and those gun-toting, bat-wielding individuals who are committing crimes around our schools. There's a big difference there. While the life-threatening incidences involving weapons, drugs, and other contraband are extremely serious and get all the media attention, I'm referring to the problem that is almost the untold, far more prevalent problem in our schools, something that teachers and students are faced with nearly every day. The example, striking and assaulting a teacher or support staff, verbally abusing a teacher and a support staff person, fighting with other students in the class and disrupting the students and disruptive behavior or violent outbursts, throwing objects like furniture. Now, there are a myriad of reasons why a child or a teenager would behave or be disruptive in a class. For example, often they're acting out because of some social and emotional issues from the home and outside the school. The social and emotional issues come into the classroom to the teacher while they're trying to teach. Now, these are symptoms that there's something going on. But no matter what the reasons are, they're preventing the teachers from teaching and the students from learning. Furthermore, they're not getting educated themselves. Now, you might be thinking, well, just send the offending students to the principal's office and give them detention or suspend them. Here's the problem. Teachers don't always get the help they need from their principals. Too often, principals return to disruptive children to the classroom like boomerangs. Worst off, sometimes teachers are told, well, it's your fault. You're obviously not managing your classroom very well, and detention doesn't work because it doesn't get to the heart of the child's problem. And suspension usually doesn't work because the student is out of school, on the streets, causing problems for himself and society in the community. Let's deal with the elephant in the room head on once and for all. After all, discipline is probably the key difference between a public and a private school. Private schools don't have to take or keep misbehaving students. Public schools do. And we public school teachers take seriously our responsibility to educate all children. But we can't do right by the vast majority of students who behave and want to learn if we don't get the support to deal with those students whose constant disruptive behavior robs themselves and their peers of an education. So we need to both be creative and assertive about helping all of our students. Chicago needs an effective alternative school for chronically disruptive students. Now, these students need separate placements so they can learn to manage their behavior and to get the education they need and deserve. Therefore, what I'm proposing today is that Chicago create a grade 6 to 12 alternative school to which teachers can fast track disruptive students out of the classroom. What do I mean by fast track? Right now, because of all of the paperwork and documentation, it could take anywhere from 90 school days to 6 months to remove a disruptive student if the teacher gets to do it at all. Under my proposal, chronically disruptive students would receive immediate placement in an alternative school, offering him or her the kinds of intervention and support they need. This school would provide comprehensive, direct behavioral interventions daily by specially trained teachers and auxiliary staff, such as a school nurse, school counselor, behavioral specialist, on an individualized basis in a small class size setting. Once the team has evaluated the student's behavior and it deemed it has improved, the student could return to a regular school the next school year. Yes, Chicago has alternative schools right now. But however, this school would serve students who don't fall in the category of criminal behavior yet, and that would land them in one of our Department of Correction schools. Or on the other end of the spectrum, they wouldn't be placed in a school that addresses diagnosed behavioral disorders. This pilot program could begin next year with a few hundred students, and if successful, and I know it would be, it could be replicated throughout the city. Once replicated, this way we can help create a conducive environment for teaching and learning in the regular public schools. Teachers sorely need this. They are being asked to do so much to succeed these days, to be successful, but they're being asked to do it with one hand tied behind their backs. Now, we don't have to reinvent the wheel to do it. There are many examples of alternative schools that could work here, and they could be open in a matter of months or certainly by the beginning of the next school year. But we need the buy-in from the community, and that includes the business community. In St. Louis, a school opened this fall called the Innovative Concepts Academy. It's an all-day alternative public school that was a brainstorm of a family court judge, Judge Jimmy Edwards, who said enough is enough. He was tired of seeing these young criminals coming through his courtroom throwing their lives away. Everything and everyone was failing them, including their schools. In a matter of months, he received the permission from the district to take over a school building that had recently been closed, and he turned it into a last-stop school for at-risk kids. Now, the students are required to wear uniforms and must attend school, get this, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. In addition to having the public school teachers there, retired nuns offering tutoring and reading, and sorority groups offer other tutoring needs. The business community donated materials and equipment to the school. Interestingly, more than 125 partners from both the public and the private sector, including 45 local St. Louis businesses, contributed financially to this project. But because the school district contributed both the school building and paid the teachers' salaries, the startup wasn't that great. It took $2 million to launch the school, and it is estimated that it will take about $500,000 per year to keep it going. Now, the St. Louis kids are more hardcore than what I'm proposing in this alternative school. But my point is this: it didn't take a lot of money, and it didn't take a long time to do it. In the time it took, it would take one teacher to do the documentation required for one student. St. Louis opened an entire alternative school for 55 students. All it took was someone to say enough is enough. Now, last month, Chicago CEO Ron Huberman told this audience that the school district was going to spend $30 million to start an anti-violence program as a result of all the shootings we've been seeing in Chicago. Well, it's greatly needed, and I'm really glad that he's doing it. But my feeling is, if we can find $30 million on an anti-violence program, we can find $2 million to start an alternative school for chronically disruptive students. We're trying to get these students before you have to spend $30 million on behavior. You're kind of trying to correct it before we get there, which is what this is my proposal, and which is a more prevalent problem of these constantly disrupting behavior. In a classroom of 28, you're dealing with 2 students who are constantly out of control. Now, when Arnie Duncan was the President of Obama's Education Secretary, was the CEO of Chicago Public Schools, I invited him to visit an alternative school in Philadelphia called the Community Education Partners that dealt with students who had disruptive behaviors. This school was designed for grades 6 to 12, like the one I'm proposing. It was staffed daily. Now, these people didn't travel around, so they were there daily. Nurse, social worker, multiple counselors, and a school psychologist. They were reported to that one school. Now, the class ratio is about 15 to 20 students to 2 adults, a teacher, and a support staff in the classroom daily. What makes this school work is that the specialized staff was available, as I keep saying, daily to help these students, these disruptive students, deal with their issues and practice their issues in a more personalized setting. Now, I hope Barbara would tell Ron, or I'd invite you to come. I'd like you and I can go. Yeah, just me and you. Go shopping too. Okay, I'm sorry. Stay focused. Okay. No, I would really like to revisit that school with Ron, and I'd love for you to come along too. Well, by the way, St. Louis and Philadelphia are not the only places that are experimenting with alternative school. My Quest staff and I had the opportunity to visit an alternative school in Phoenix, Arizona. At this particular alternative school, the staff had a teaching philosophy where students were referred to as kids at hope rather than kids at risk. Now, our 10 Fresh Start schools have adopted this kids at hope philosophy of all children are capable of success, no exceptions. Now, Terry Roche, the professor of education at Roosevelt University and executive director of the Chicago Education Alliance, is responsible for introducing this teaching philosophy to our Fresh Start schools and sponsoring it, some of it. This philosophy involved the entire school community. They have a parent component of it. And it involves the teachers, the school staff, parents, the school administrators, elected officials, community partners, and the businesses. The same community, the same staff that I mentioned before. It's the same group of all of us. In opening this proposed alternative school, we would recommend that they have they would adopt this philosophy in that school. We want these students to be kids at hope rather than kids at risk. Hope, not risk. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time that we take some action here in Chicago, not just to eliminate the violence and shooting, but to end the chronic classroom disruptions that cripple the education process. It can be done here. It must be done here. Enough is enough. Now, I'm committed to working with all of the education stakeholders, from the mayor's office to the CEO's office to parent groups and to you, the business community. Everyone who needs to be involved to open this pilot alternative school. Now, if we remove this elephant in the room in a positive, effective way, we will really make some tremendous progress in raising the quality of education for all of our students. I hope I can count on your support, help, and ideas. Thank you for inviting me here today, and if there's time, I will not answer any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, this side was less squeaky. Do I take this off? Do we take the mic off?
Thank you very much. As one whose career with Chicago Public Schools has spanned name a category, I've been there, including parents of two who went K through 12 through the system. You have a lot of questions here, Marilyn.
Let me pick up.
Oh, no, we don't do it that way.
Is this a test?
This is a test, yeah. But, it's like an amoeba answer. It varies, it's flexible. Why wouldn't the parents be obligated to contribute to the schools of hope?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Why wouldn't the parents be obligated to contribute to the schools of hope?
Well,
That came from Judith Turk.
Well, the schools of hope, if they adopt the Kids at Hope philosophy, there is a parent component in there. We all understand or appreciate the parent is the child's first teacher. But if the parents have some issues for which they have to be taught that that's their role, the Kids at Hope has a component, and we've actually sponsored. We sent some parents. They were sponsored to go to Arizona to be trained to be a part of the Kids at Hope community. So these parents are a part of that commitment.
Thank you. Senator Berman, who put his heart and soul into education during the time he was an active member of the state legislature, wants to know, what do you think of the Tribune article last Monday with the headline, quote, "Chicago flunks when it comes to special ed," unquote?
Consider the source. Sorry. Ooh. No, whoa. Chicago flunks. I mean, we have to stop dealing with our education and our issues with sound bites. They don't solve a problem, and for them to make that assumption, Chicago flunks special education. I'm a special education teacher for over almost 30 years in the system, and I think we're doing a fine job. But there's always room for improvement. But you can't, be forced to answer a question because I didn't read the whole article. I know Mary read it, but I didn't read the article yet. But to try to answer the way it should be answered from that soundbite would be inappropriate.
From Barclay Welch. We have different heights here, you can tell. Incentive pay has been used in business to motivate and reward good performance. If you don't support merit pay, can we reward teachers another way?
Pay them more. No, the thing is, we have to, merit pay, from the business perspective, you can control all of your variables. Now, I talked about teacher quality, and we have one of, I think Tarkington School is the only energy green building in the state of Illinois. If you have the state-of-the-art building, the teachers are high-quality teachers, and the students aren't there. Why is it the teacher's fault? So you're going to award a person on student performance. I think it's not fair because there's more than one way to judge if a student is doing well. And to rate a test, well, we're talking about a continuum from K to 12, and everybody was a part of that learning community, I think it's really not fair to stake on one component of how to measure a student's achievement.
We'll make it through. From Mike Levin, what is the CTU position on year-round schooling?
Well, there's a misunderstanding about year-round schooling. Now, the schedule that we have currently, you're off in the summer months, that's a farm schedule. How many of our kids living on farms? They were off for the summer because they were needed on the family farm. That was the reason for that scheduling. Now, the year-round schooling, I have to get it right. We have multi-track. Molly's here. Molly. The concepts we're talking about, we're trying to reintroduce to the district, have been around for how long, Molly? About good 25 years. Molly was president of the Year-Round School Association, and they're on. Now we have the Track E schools. Help me with this right. But some are on intercession for like 3 weeks, and then you're off. You're on for a couple of months, then you're off for 3 weeks, year-round. So you're not in school all year round. You have these breaks. And we're trying to introduce to the district, instead of a child going through the whole year, I'm supportive of the question, to answer the question, I'm supportive of the year-round concept. We just need to have air-conditioned buildings. But if a student is struggling the first semester, I was just talking to Molly, and this was a proposal 25 years ago. A student is struggling the first semester, the first few months. He has to attend intercession and make up that time there instead of waiting the whole year to make up a year, and you're going to do it in the summer. So you'd have breaks in that. When the teachers come back, and I have not met any teacher that didn't like it, they're off now for a couple of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, they're off for 3 weeks, and they go back and they start a new lesson. They start a whole new concept, and then they're going. So you have these breaks where people aren't getting burned out, and then the students have an opportunity to make up work before the end of the year, where it's hard to just do the whole year. But did I answer the question? I'm for it. But as I said, when they first started out, the only schools who could do it were schools that were air conditioned. Now, all of us live in Chicago. Now, I worked in a school that didn't have air conditioning, and I had worked in a school that got air conditioned, so I brought a coat and didn't complain. But the thing is, when we open the schools in the summer, and that was an issue for some of the parents, some of our schools are air-conditioned, and some of our schools are almost like sweatshops where the windows don't open. So I think you have to make the conditions for learning conducive for all of our students, because one child should not, or teachers should not be in one building with air conditioning, and another school, it open in July and August, they don't have that basic comfort of each. I mean, how lethargic do you get in the summer when it's 90 degrees somewhere? So that's my only complain about it.
It's really not a light question, a parenthetical input here. Air conditioning is absolutely essential for the success of year-round schools. And I totally support year-round schools. Our kids need all the time on task they can get. From Joyce Saxon, a fellow board member of City Club, 1,200 nationally certified teachers. Ideally, how many could you use if money was available?
How many teachers could we use?
Nationally certified, nationally board certified.
Well, our goal, Mayor's busy right now, but our goal is to have at least one in all of our schools. And so if we have 650 schools, we would like to have, and some schools have a cohort of up to 9 or 10 teachers of these National Board Certified teachers in the school. And so we're trying to get, and we got some grant with, Janet's urging. We've got the national, they got a federal stimulus money grant to give teachers an incentive to pay for the application. And we're party in that, trying to get, encourage teachers to take this route. So preferably, at minimum, one teacher, National Board Certified teacher in each of our schools.
From Leslie Kennedy. You mentioned that CPS spends millions of dollars on teachers leaving the system. To what do you attribute this high rate of departure? Is this due to the disruptions in the classroom you talked about?
There are several reasons, but the high turnover rate, the first 5 years of a teacher's career, that's when a teacher decides if they're going to stay in a profession anyway. So you have the natural turnover anyway. But when teachers come into the system, as I was saying in my speech, if they don't get the support they need, if there was an article in the American Federation of Teacher magazine, it talked about why teachers leave and why teachers stay. And one of the things why teachers leave is that when a new teacher comes into a building and they don't get the support. Now, how many of you, when in your businesses, a person comes into your facility and they say, "Here, this is what you do. Here's the key. There's your office." And some teachers felt that way, or they felt they didn't get the support they needed, or if they had disruptive students and they just out of college, and this was I didn't get that class, that where how to deal with the challenges that our students are giving you. I'm appalled that teachers are treated this way. So a new teacher fresh out of school and she's trying to decide, well, I don't really have to do this. They may leave if they don't get the support they need, or the behavior of the students in the classroom, the threats. They leave the system, unfortunately. But we're trying to change that.
From Relio, I hope I do this right, Mastrantonio from Dependable Properties. You said you disagree with Obama's administrations on some details regarding the race to the top funds. What are these disagreements?
Well, some of it is that, they talked about having national standards, and we're not opposed to that. And they want to tie teacher compensation to student scores. I said, well, how can you tie a teacher's compensation to a score when you just said the way we evaluate teachers is flawed? Or you said that we don't have a national standards for testing. How, if you're putting the cart before the horse and you're having too much weight on one component of how a child's success is evaluated. I mean, everything is put on a test score. I know many of you out here, this audience is big enough, there are people that are very bright and know the lesson, just can't pass the test. I mean, they have test phobia. So I think teachers are saying, well, there's too much weight on this test, and we have other ways to evaluate students. And to say that a teacher compensation to be tied to one test score in time, I think is flawed, especially at this time when they were talking about they have some stimulus money to get an evaluation system, as I said, to get an evaluation system where the data would match that, where you can get it in point in time. They're studying in Illinois, but they don't have it. So why are you rushing to think that as a teacher for 29 years, I've had a whole bag of tricks in my back pocket waiting for you to give me a little something, something, and I'm going to pull them out and do a better job. That's not realistic. I mean, teachers are out there doing the best they can, and you're saying I'm going to give you something to do more when I say I'm doing it. Well, if it's your fault that the students aren't succeeding, so if I give you a bonus and some merit pay, you're going to do better. And it's like, you just don't understand what I'm doing. So I think there are other ways to compensate teachers. We compensate teachers for, getting national board certification. We compensate teachers for mentoring. We compensate teachers for, doing other jobs in the school. So there are other ways to compensate teachers without focusing on a student test score where we're saying the student's not coming to class. I'm here and he's not there and he flunks, I get blamed. I'm sorry.
We got a couple more, and then one from me. From Joseph Letke of Letke Associates, it's my understanding that teachers have tenure after a number of years. Does this guarantee the teacher a job for life? Does it make it harder to terminate a teacher?
No. Tenure. Now, some of you may not be aware of this, but Chicago is a very political town. And back when our union was young, teacher jobs were basically patronage jobs. You could lose your job because someone well-connected needed a job and they came after your job. We said that's not fair. You should be, and tenure only protects your due process rights. You can be terminated for cause. And why would I have a vested interest in protecting someone who is incompetent? Those are the people you write about. You're not talking about the National Board Certified teachers or the master teachers or the teachers with PhDs or the teachers who come out of the business world to come back to teach because that's what they love to do. You're talking about a few people there, and that's not fair.
From James Thindwa, who is a member of Chicago Alliance of Teachers and Staff. The recent beating death of a student has reignited the debate about safety in our schools and communities. Can you talk about the role of economic marginalization in the social instability of these neighborhoods? I would just add 30 seconds or less.
Hey, James. Well, I think at the American Federation of Teachers Quest Conference last year, oh no, it wasn't there. It was at one of our AFT vice presidents meetings. One of the teachers said, you know, we can probably solve a lot of these problems if we just give the parents jobs. We spend all these, if parents were working, a lot of they would, you know, they would have these values. We're spending all these monies on one end of the system, and a lot of our economic problems are caused. I mean, a lot of our student problems are caused by these economic situations that are occurring in the families, and that's unfortunate. You know, I said this. A lot of the students' behavior, social and emotional issues, outside the classroom that spill over into the classroom, and that child comes to my classroom. I visited Montefiore as a therapeutic day school in Chicago, and this kid is coming through a metal detector at 9 a.m. cussing and screaming, and you just kind of step back and say, what has happened to that child last night? And so, you know, oh, you lost my thought, I'm so tired. But there's so many issues that, and the economic stability of the family is crucial, because the kids they're really mirroring or showing symptoms of what's happening in the home life. And so if you can stabilize that, and a lot of our students, the schools are the most stable environments that they have. And that's why, you know, the teachers in the schools are probably you know, they've never seen a working adult or a working male. So you're saying you're trying to create a stable environment, and that the economic problems that we're seeing now, and that may be one of the causes why our students are acting out more. If you look at that, you know, when the economy goes down and people are losing their jobs, abuse goes up in homes. Now, that's proven. Now, if a child is getting abused at home, that comes over into the school.
Yeah, I do have a question. Actually, I was going to write it down before Jay talked to me. And it deals with competing goods, pensioners, students, the use of the education dollar. Because back, as my daughter graciously would say, in the olden days, Mom, when I was a Chicago Board of Education delegate to your pension fund, teacher's pension fund, it was my understanding from the pension law that the pension dollar came off the top. And there was a modification of that, as I understand it, in terms of how many education dollars would go to pay pensions if the pension fund now gets a certain amount of revenue. Because for those of you who don't know, the Chicago Teachers Pension Fund is probably the best funded governmental pension fund we have in this state. So it is a prize in the eyes of many. That if the revenues hit a certain level, the Board of Education didn't have to kick in any extra dollars, because the Board of Education is the last funder. Now the revenues aren't that good, so the Board of Education has to kick in more dollars to make up the statutory requirement. The question then becomes, and it's again, two goods, but how do we deal with it? Because my understanding is the pension costs come off the top, period, the end. And if that is so, as a pensioner, thank you very much. But it leaves less for education programming.
Well, I think that's a hot question, but there are two issues. You know, the pension is we've earned that. We're just getting compensated. You got compensated. Where are you? She fell in that little hole.
No, go ahead and answer. I was trying to get his. Okay.
No, you got compensated at the end.
I moved again.
Stop it. You get compensated at the end. Now, this is complex. I mean, Chicago, they had a sort of a holiday. When back in the day when the, stocks were up, they kind of said, well, we didn't have, well, you remember that? Okay. And we're glad we have a defined benefit. Hey.
I'm going to stay here.
Okay. No, I think it's a complex issue with competing dollars. We should not be competing for my compensation or your compensation and funding education. Because, we paid our portion. The district took a holiday because it was funded above this certain level. They agreed. They said, well, if it goes below this, we'll kick in more of our portion. But because there's a property tax levy for that. That was diverted. Now they fell behind. So if you fall behind and you have to make it up per your agreement, that's your agreement. But I don't like them talking about my earned money that is deferred. I get it at the end of my career. You could pay me up front. Pay me this now. But it's a deferred pension. And so to try to say I'm going to take your pension to fund education is not right. You have to fund education. And you have to do it now, and you have to find the dollars to do it, and not look into the teachers' pension fund, their earned money at the end of their career to do it. Is that it?
Thank you, Marilyn, for coming and giving us your views and your take on what we need to do. Because if we don't agree on anything else in this room, I think we all agree that, for heaven's sakes, let's help these kids because, they're going to support us one of these days. And if we don't do a good job, we've only hurt ourselves. I want to thank you on behalf of the City Club of Chicago, and we do have some thank you gifts for you. You like gifts? We have the famous City Club of Chicago mug. Cool. And a welcome from us to you, a year's membership in the City Club of Chicago.
Thank you very much.
And as an educator, I know you're interested in how things came about. This is the centennial history of the City Club of Chicago.
Great, I love it. Thank you. We come with gifts, too.
You do. Oh, yes, you do.
We've had a lot of stuff.
Jay, come up here. On behalf of the Chicago Teachers Union and our faculty, I think we have a mug in here. Do I have to open it? Okay, it's like a gift. Oh. Hey.
Wow, look at this.
A cap, a calendar. Our teachers love this. I had to take some to church because the retired teacher goes, "Where's my calendar?" The calendar, it's a 12-month calendar. This is a lovely golf shirt.
Wow, maybe it'll prove my game.
Definitely. And you can come to our golf outing. It supports the Special Student Assistance Fund. We'll send you, all of you can come to that. It's in June, right? Okay. Oh, the mug.
There we go.
A pencil.
Wow.
A breath mint.
Wow, thank you. I got everything.
What else is it? Oh, a couple of issues of our award-winning newspaper.
Nice.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
No, class dismissed.
Yeah.